to take my soul away. I don't know what you did, steal my soul.
Mother's Day in a peaceful Jacksonville suburb took a turn for the worse in 2021 when a young woman disappeared from her home overnight, sending her parents and the community into a panic. Despite the efforts of officers and volunteers, there was no sign of Tristyn Bailey. But what they eventually discovered was even more chilling and inexplicable. Today we dive into the bizarre case of Tristyn Bailey and Aiden Fucci. This is no ordinary murder story. A heartless killer mercilessly stabbed the victim over 100 times before dumping her body in the woods and returning home to carry on with his life as if nothing happened. The question is, why? And why did his mother become involved in this shocking crime? Our hearts go out to the family of the victim who fell prey to the heinous actions of a 14-year-old boy. Today, we take you to the sunny city of Jacksonville, Florida, a bustling metropolis and the largest in the state. Meet 13-year-old Tristyn Bailey, a talented athlete, a loyal friend, and a lover of Starbucks. She attended the prestigious Patriot Oaks Academy in St. Johns, Florida, where she was among other gifted students. Tristyn was a dedicated cheerleader and had plans to continue cheering throughout high school and college. But one fateful morning, everything changed after Tristyn's parents found her missing. It was Mother's Day, May 9th, and the Bailey family was enjoying a typical Sunday morning. As they prepared breakfast, they had no idea that their world was about to be turned upside down. Mrs. Bailey went to wake up her daughter, Tristyn, at around 10:00 a.m., but to her shock, the young girl was nowhere to be found. Frantic with worry, the parents immediately reported their daughter missing to the authorities. The Baileys lived in Durbin Crossing, a community that exuded a sense of nostalgia for a time when children played outside and the sound of laughter filled the streets. This peaceful neighborhood was known for its lack of crime, and its tight-knit community made it feel like everyone was a friend. With its upper-middle-class residents and good atmosphere, this was not a place where one expected to see police activity, let alone kidnappings or murders. The community sprang into action as soon as Tristyn Bailey was reported missing, with everyone from concerned neighbors to law enforcement officers working together to find her. Flyers were distributed, search parties were organized, and people scoured the area for any sign of the missing girl. Investigators were impressed by the outpouring of support from the community. As the search continued, footage from a security camera had picked up something. Tristyn walking through the streets at 1:15 a.m., accompanied by her friend, 14-year-old Aiden Fucci. This was a surprise to her parents, as they would never have allowed her to leave the house at such a late hour. The camera footage showed the two friends walking through a parking lot and heading towards a wooded area on the outskirts of town. A recent investigation revealed that Tristyn and Fucci were last seen leaving a classmate's house around 1:00 a.m., supposedly for a stroll under the starry sky. However, things took a strange turn when Aiden was spotted emerging from a nearby wooded area 3 hours later, but Tristyn was nowhere to be seen. The police wasted no time in taking Aiden in for questioning and even asked him to retrace the route they took. But what's truly shocking is what Aiden did next. While in the police car, he shamelessly took out his phone, snapped multiple selfies, and added a caption that read, "Hey guys, has anybody seen Tristyn lately?"
We're having fun. Cop car.
Yep. Tristyn.
What's up, guys?
Yep.
Tristyn, if you the damn...
When you see this in a month.
Aiden's cousin was used to seeing him at her house multiple times a week, but on Thursday, May the 1st, Aiden vanished without a trace. It wasn't until a photo of him in the backseat of a police car surfaced that his cousin heard from him again. The eerie picture was quickly shared among their classmates, leaving everyone wondering what had happened. When investigators questioned Aiden's cousin about his behavior, she revealed a chilling conversation she had with him. Aiden had once told her that he might end up in jail someday, but that he suddenly had a change of heart. However, when the police searched his bedroom, they found disturbing pieces of evidence that suggested otherwise. Blood-stained clothes, satanic drawings, and gruesome images of girls with red X's on their genitals were just some of the things they discovered. When asked why it took him so long to get home that night, Aiden claimed he was walking alone to clear his head. But the truth was far more sinister. After a 16-hour search, the body of a young girl was found. A neighbor's usual jog took a gruesome turn when he discovered the body of a young girl in a dense, brushy area near the cul-de-sac of Settlestone Drive. Shocked and horrified, he immediately called the police to the scene. In no time, law enforcement arrived and uncovered a grisly scene. The girl had been brutally stabbed multiple times. The authorities then took the body in for identification and sadly confirmed it was the missing 13-year-old. But with no signs of assault or struggle, the question remained, who could commit such a heinous act? The close-knit community rallied to find answers, poring over personal security footage and collaborating with the police. The search for the killer continues, and the tragic case of the young victim has left the neighborhood in shock and fear. As the investigation into Tristyn's murder intensified, authorities turned their attention to the nearby lake, spending days scouring the body of water for clues. No one knew precisely what they were looking for, but it was widely assumed that they were on the hunt for the murder weapon. All eyes turned to Aiden, who quickly became the primary suspect. He was sent to juvenile detention in St. John, and his first court hearing was held virtual, via Zoom, and broadcasted online. The judge's ruling was clear. Aiden would remain in detention until the end of May, when his trial would begin. As the investigation progressed, an experienced investigator spoke out, exuding confidence in the case against Aiden. It was a haunting revelation. The authorities were convinced they had their man, and the shocking truth about what really happened to Tristyn would soon be revealed. The news of Tristyn's death sent shockwaves beyond the confines of her community, spreading like wildfire across the nation. The investigators were certain they had their man, and as news of Aiden's involvement emerged, social media was abuzz with reactions. From heartfelt condolences to seething disgust towards Aiden, people took to platforms like Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter to voice their opinions. Yet, shockingly, there were those who took Aiden's side, suggesting that Tristyn had somehow deserved her fate, and even calling for his release from custody. How could anyone condone such a heinous act? Meanwhile, others were even more disturbing, seemingly using the tragedy as a twisted opportunity for their own 15 minutes of fame. Shockingly, some even insinuated that the murder was a path to becoming viral or famous. But amidst the chaos and speculation, there were also whispers of darker truths, rumors that Aiden may not have acted alone, and that Tristyn had been assaulted prior to her untimely death. As news of the murder circulated online, so did the rumors. False information spread like wildfire, prompting the police to release an official statement to clear the air. Investigators were determined to uncover the truth behind the heinous act, including the motive. After all, the suspect and victim were from well-off families and attended a prestigious school. So what could have driven Aiden to commit such a gruesome crime? As it turns out, he was relatively new to the area, having only moved there 6 months prior to the incident. Despite attending the same school and living in the same neighborhood as his peers, Aiden's upbringing and values may have differed. One police officer even went so far as to call him a cold-blooded killer, but for the time being, Aiden was presumed innocent until proven guilty. As the investigation progressed, the boy was taken out of juvenile detention and arrested as an adult, pending his trial. Reporters asked if Aiden would share detention space with adults, but one officer said he would be kept separate, although that changed later on. Despite being a minor, his charges were for first-degree murder, showing the gravity of the situation. The trial would be treated with the utmost seriousness, and if he were found guilty, he faced life in prison with no possibility of parole. However, some people believed that was inhumane, even though what he did to that 13-year-old girl was unforgivable. But the question remained, why was the punishment so severe? It turned out that Tristyn was stabbed an incredibly high number of times. Given the brutality of the murder, it was no surprise that the authorities were taking a hard stance on the case. Tristyn Bailey didn't just suffer a few superficial wounds, but was stabbed a shocking 114 times. The killer showed no mercy or signs of stopping. That's 113 chances for the killer to reconsider his actions and spare her life. The sheer number of wounds clearly points to a brutal intent to kill. Upon further investigation, divers searched the lake and made a disturbing discovery. The the murder weapon. A typical folding button knife, which authorities believe Aiden used to take Tristyn's life. The blade was broken, with a piece missing, and was found lodged in the poor girl's skull. It's believed that the blade broke, preventing Aiden from causing even more harm. Shockingly, 49 of the stab wounds were defensive, indicating that Tristyn bravely fought for her life until her last breath, even though she was outnumbered and outmatched. The evidence points to a vicious and cold-blooded killer, and it's no wonder that the authorities are taking this case extremely seriously. Tristyn fought with all her might, but it proved to be no match for her killer's vicious intent. Despite the struggle she put up, the evidence against Aiden was mounting, leaving investigators confident of his guilt, even though he refused to confess. A significant piece of evidence came from Aiden's own friends, who spoke with the police during their investigation. According to them, Aiden had been talking for some time about his desire to take someone's life. He reportedly had an uncontrollable urge to end an innocent person's life without any motive. Shockingly, he had even made a promise to do it in 30 days and drag his victim into the woods to stab them. His words proved to be deadly accurate, as he fulfilled his twisted promise by taking Tristyn's life exactly a month later. His girlfriend's friend described him as emotionless and detached, the telltale signs of a serial killer. The state attorney was certain that this was a clear case of first-degree premeditated murder. Aiden had been planning to kill someone for some time, but he hadn't chosen his victim yet. Unfortunately, Tristyn was in the wrong place at the wrong time. Tristyn's family bravely shared their story with the media multiple times, hoping to raise awareness and prevent similar tragedies. They urged parents to be vigilant and pay attention to any unusual behavior in their teens. While some people offered support and condolences, others sent the family death threats. Shockingly, some threats came from teenagers who perhaps didn't fully grasp the gravity of the situation or thought it was a joke. The police took action and publicly announced that such behavior would not be tolerated in order to protect the devastated family from further harm. The plot thickened when Aiden's mother was arrested for a felony charge of tampering with evidence during the investigation. It was revealed that she had gone into her son's room and washed the jeans he wore on the night of the murder to remove any traces of blood after he was taken into custody. The police discovered this when they confiscated the security camera footage from inside the house. In the video, another person could be heard advising Aiden's mother against tampering with evidence, but she disregarded the warning and proceeded to wash the jeans. She seemed anxious and kept looking out the window, despite not knowing about Tristyn's death at the time. Although she was released shortly after the arrest, her actions only added to the suspicion that Aiden was indeed the perpetrator. The question remained, why did she try to cover up her son's involvement in the crime? Info about one of his interviews was released to the public. It turns out that during one of Aiden's interviews at the sheriff's station, a recording was captured of his parents telling him to stick to his story. The officer had left the room, and the family believed they were alone. Little did they know that they were being recorded. This leads to speculation that they knew about their son's actions all along, but chose to remain silent. Aiden's story was that they were walking toward the woods when they passed Leith Hall Drive. Tristyn didn't turn onto her street, and they continued walking together toward North Durban Parkway. Aiden claims that Tristyn grabbed his man parts, which angered him and led to an argument. According to the report, he then pushed her hard to the ground, causing her to hit her head and left her there. However, this explanation raises more questions than answers. What really happened in those woods, and why did his parents feel the need to tell him to stick to his story? The interview with Aiden at the sheriff's station uncovered yet another bizarre detail in this twisted tale. When asked about what he was wearing on the night of the murder, Aiden confirmed that he was wearing jeans, but just as quickly, his mother jumped in and corrected him, insisting that he was actually wearing khakis. It was a blatant attempt to protect her son by lying about a crucial detail that could be used against him in court. But here's the thing. The evidence clearly showed that the victim, Tristyn, was found lying on her right side, with her cell phone, some cash, and a cotton candy vape all covered in blood next to her. The real kicker: the words karma and a smiley face had been scrawled on her ankles with a pen, on her left and right, respectively. This begs the question: If Aiden had simply left her there and someone else had come along and killed her, wouldn't they have taken the belongings? Something just didn't add up. The weight of the evidence against Aiden was mounting, but it seemed like no one was taking his claims seriously. Even his girlfriend claimed that he had a habit of carrying knives around and even gave them quirky nicknames like Picker and Poker. When asked to describe one of the knives, she supposedly described one that was identical to the one found in the lake. It wasn't long before Aiden was sharing detention space with adults, and things only got worse from there. The prosecution even claimed to have a surprise witness from within the county jail who had further information about the murder. With 250 witnesses against him, it was clear that Aiden had left an impression on a lot of people, whether for good or for bad. During his routine pre-trial hearing, Aiden appeared on a video feed from the Duval County Jail looking lost and confused. He was dressed in an orange jumpsuit and had a dazed expression on his face. It was as if he didn't know where he was or what was happening to him. A guard entered and handed him the receiver, and as he held it, he seemed disoriented and confused. The scene was tense as Aiden Fucci sat in the room with the phone to his ear, his long hair falling over his face. Was the time he had spent in jail getting to him? Suddenly, he began rocking back and forth and muttering to himself. He spoke about demons and how they would take his soul. His plaintive voice echoed in the small room as he asked why he was there and begged to speak to his mom and dad. The guard watched him closely as the feed eventually ended.
Why you demons take my soul? You demons want to take my soul away. Why you demons steal my soul? I don't know what's going on.
Later, his lawyer filed a speedy trial waiver, and the case was pushed back to October 28th. After analyzing the disturbing video footage of Aiden Fucci's behavior in court, a forensic psychologist not connected to the case suggests that the teen may need a mental competency evaluation. The psychologist noted that Fucci appeared confused and disoriented, and it was difficult to determine whether he was faking mental illness or genuinely suffering from a mental disorder. Based on his past patterns of behavior, the psychologist believes that there may be underlying issues at play. Attorney Gene Nichols, who is also not associated with the case, stated that such an evaluation is not uncommon in cases like Fucci's, but it could prolong the trial, as it often takes several months to complete. As the case continues to unfold, many are left wondering what could be going on in Aiden Fucci's mind. At this moment, Aiden Fucci's mental competency evaluation has not been ordered by the judge, and investigators have yet to confirm whether he has a mental disorder. In the meantime, his mother, Crystal Smith, is also awaiting trial for tampering with evidence, a third-degree felony. In February 2023, Fucci surprised the courtroom by pleading guilty to first-degree murder in the death of his 13-year-old schoolmate, Tristyn Bailey, just moments before jury selection began. He faces a possible sentence of 40 years to life in prison if convicted, as he was charged as an adult but is ineligible for the death penalty due to his juvenile status. After 25 years of a life term, the judge can review the possibility of a lighter sentence as per Florida law. During his guilty plea, Fucci apologized to both the Bailey family and his own. What sentence do you think he will receive? Share your thoughts in the comments below and make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel for more shocking cases like this. Hit the notification bell to stay updated on our latest releases.